Malta's role in the digital world economy. Malta has positioned itself as a focal point for business and trade in the digital era. How does regulation work as a means of attracting foreign direct investment? Dr. Ian Gauci, Kaleido Advocates. Stephen McCarthy, Malta Digital Innovation Authority. Ramona Azzopardi, WH Partners. Deborah Chappelle, Muscat Mitzi Advocates. Anthony David Gutt, Malta Enterprise. Moderated by Joseph Borge, WH Partners.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's really nice to see this hall full. We all recall the vibe we had in November. And I'm feeling, although maybe it's not as crowded as it was in November, I'm still seeing a lot of interest. I've just come from Consensus in New York, and there it's really picking up again. The vibe on blockchain and cryptocurrencies is really picking up again. So hopefully this year will be as good as 2018 and 2017. So let's start by asking a general question. Almost 1 year on from when the new regulatory and actually from 1 year on from when the new legislative framework in Malta has has been adopted. Have we lived up to the expectation that and the title we gave to ourselves as the blockchain island?
Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. So, seeing all these people, this vibe, I would say that is part of the testament. This is the second year running, even for Malta Blockchain Summit. So, we're still there. Having said that, we proved ourselves as well with regards to other countries. When we went out with our legislation, other countries, even the European Commission, saw that it was something quite innovative. There was nothing on cryptocurrencies or quite little literature on that, more so on legislation. So 1 year down the line, Blockchain Island, we created a specific legislation. There were no directives. We were the first, a specific authority dealing with technology. We're seeing countries like Italy, France, looking at our model, adopting our model. Finland, okay? We saw as well ESMA changing their text, saying, listen, this is something different. We need to legislate. We need to intervene. EBA, European Banking Association, same thing. So I would say that from a strategic point of view, we lived up to our expectation. One last thing, from the operational, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And now the moment is ripe. So we're going to have the first licenses, and even in the background, that's a lot of work which is being done. Work on processes, works on private law provisions, because it's one thing having somebody have a license, blockchain island, but it's another thing sustaining an ecosystem.
Steve, I don't know if you have any comment on this general question from your end.
No, on the general question, I think, yes, we have lived up to it. Why? Because being in my position as a regulator, most of the operators would like to know the requirements that they have to do in order to apply. And so I meet basically with operators on a daily basis. And I can tell you that every single day I have an appointment with an operator, which is extremely encouraging. Further than that, we just yesterday increased the list of systems auditors approved, because we went for the road whereby instead of ramping up ourselves with experienced technical people, we accredited systems auditors which are outside there, which have the experience, which have the manpower and the international knowledge. So yes, I would say that we're
Steve, let's come to that later on.
Yes.
And give us more information about that.
Definitely.
Anyone else has any comment about Malta being the blockchain island and whether we have lived up to that expectation?
If I may, Joe, from a tax point of view, I think we definitely lived up to the expectation. Malta was one of the very first countries that issued guidelines on how the LT assets are taxed. I have attended several conferences, international conferences, and when I speak to my colleagues outside of Malta, revenue departments in different countries, they haven't given an opinion or a guideline or law on how the LT assets and cryptocurrencies and transactions in cryptocurrencies are to be taxed. Malta, I think, was one of the very first countries that issued very detailed guidelines, which, as we go along, we'll see also that may be changed to keep up with the technological changes.
Okay, Deborah?
Well, Joe, I think it's been a success story so far. From my side, being a private practitioner and running one of the VFA agents here in Malta, we feel that the interest has continued, and from our side, also being appointed as VFA agents, we feel that is a step in the right direction.
In fact, one comment I would have also is that initially, I believe, Ian, some couple of years ago, probably it was just 4 or 5 of us who were discussing blockchain on social media. And suddenly, I'm seeing everyone getting involved. And to be fair, I'm seeing a lot of competence as well. So initially, maybe everyone was trying to just get seen in the industry, but rather today, if you speak to people, they really know what they're talking about. So the fact that we have so many service providers as well that are knowledgeable is quite positive as well. We have auditors, as Steve was saying. We have we have lawyers, we have accountants that really understand this. And I think, as what happened with the gaming industry, again, sorry for making the comparison, but literally that is what gave us the edge.
To close it off also from
Yes,
our
also
end,
from a government
enterprise as
entity
well.
point of view.
I believe what we need to be honest with ourselves. There was a dip and we all felt it. On international level, it also affected the kind of operations that we've seen in Malta and the momentum. However, we're here today. We're here in numbers and in quality. I believe that the blockchain island concept is not just marketing or just words uttered by politicians. It's real belief, it's real building an ecosystem, it's real hard work from all of you, and also, I believe, Malta Enterprise included, to create an ecosystem. So I'm proud to say that we have had successful applications for our support measures in the past months. And today, in these days, we'll be able to meet many more companies, but also set up, we have already a number of companies that we have set up meetings for them to get to know other players in the ecosystem, players which might not be directly from blockchain, but coming from, let's look at AI or IoT, meetings with the health authorities, meeting with regulators in transportation, for example. So it's happening. It's happening with its pace, but we're here with content and with value today.
Fantastic. So, Steve, you were mentioning earlier on what the MDIA is doing. Can you give us a check on where we are, how it's shaping up, and what are the next steps now?
Okay. No, basically, we just list the first systems auditors, and in the coming weeks and in the coming months, we will increase the list of systems auditors. It is important. Why? Because we have given some rigorous...
How many system auditors are
Systems auditors, we have approved 3, okay? And the target is that by the end of the year, we will have 10. Keep in mind also that systems auditors also engage with a subject matter expert. So in one particular audit firm, okay, they can have 2, 3, 5 subject matter experts. And why am I saying this? Because we feel that there's going to be an influx of applications. So we are already speaking with the systems auditors in order to prepare themselves. We're telling them, listen, come and increase the subject matter experts, because once there's an influx of applications which have to be audited, in order for them to be ready to cater for these applications, rather than seeing the applications coming in and then coming us with accrediting the subject matter experts. So basically, that is the way forward. What are we doing? Basically, there are two ways, either certification or issuing a systems auditor opinion. We're in contact with MFSA on a continuous basis. MFSA has decided that in particular applications, in particular platforms, they will only ask for a systems auditor opinion in particular. But in other cases, for example, in exchanges which deals with millions of dollars or every day, they might decide to come for certification directly for us. So it's twofold. When they come for certification directly from us, what's the difference? Basically, there's an important difference. What is it? First of all, we will ask for a systems auditor opinion just the same. But more than that, we also have within our law, within our guidelines, the appointment of a technical administrator with the use also of a forensic node. What does that mean? That means that if, for example, there's a platform which there is breach of law, and it is technically possible, we can and we have the authority to instruct the technical administrator to switch off the component which is breach of law, where it is technically possible.
Anthony, we always speak about regulation, but in Malta there are other incentives, and most of which are offered by Malta Enterprise. Could you please tell us very briefly how Malta Enterprise can help companies in this space?
So basically, we normally talk about access to finance and money and grants, but we are realizing that there's a need of assistance also on two other very important formations towards an ecosystem, which is talent and education. So basically, I would like to just highlight some incentives that we have on these two particular topics. When it comes to talent, we have the highly qualified individual scheme, which helps individuals that, for example, if a company is looking at setting up base in Malta, and they have a CFO, a CEO, but they're looking for a chief COO, for example, and they need to import talent. They need to bring someone to complete that team. As a Malta Enterprise, we administer this incentive that that particular individual can benefit from a personal tax of just 15%, which is obviously very conducive. There are other elements. For example, if you want to apply for a working visa, this is not something that we govern, but someone that is earning upwards than 35K can have a working visa if he's successful in 10 days' time. So that's another positive element. When you are training the people that you bring to Malta or talent that you find here, a particular other incentive can give you back to up to 70% of the costs on training. So those are incentives on training, let's say, and talent. We have seen also, and I'm very proud to say that both the University of Malta and MCAST are pushing, but we have also seen global players that are coming to Malta, global players in the blockchain industry, that are wanting to come to Malta, not just to have a software development arm, but also to train people here. So
thanks.
Watch the space.
Thanks, Anthony. Ramona, briefly, because we only have 5 minutes left. Another important factor, and you have already mentioned it in your first intervention, is tax. But not just from a tax efficiency point of view. Everyone knows that Malta is a very attractive jurisdiction from a tax efficiency point of view. But in the digital innovation space, we are also seeing legal certainty being instilled from a tax point of view. So what are the advantages of Malta from a tax point of view, not strictly speaking from a tax efficiency point of view?
Okay, so you mentioned tax efficiency. I'm sure most of you are aware that Malta has a beneficial corporate tax regime. A beneficial corporate tax regime that is also backed by double taxation treaties and also backed by tax transparency, which our country signed through several treaties. So it's not just a corporate tax regime, but it's also backed by multilateral relations with other countries. From a certainty point of view, definitely the guidelines that were published in November last year gave lots of certainty when it comes to transactions on cryptocurrencies and blockchain and related matters. However, what we're seeing at the moment is that in cross-border transactions, some of the times we would need to cross-refer to our colleagues in other countries. For example, a simple example, for example, on exchanges and VAT, most of the time we would need to cross-refer to other countries to see how these are taxed in their other jurisdiction. And there, we still lack uncertainty. But to sum it up, I think from a Maltese point of view, companies that want to set up in Malta, they have the legal framework to do so now.
Ian, but let's face it, Malta's great, we're attractive, but we are not a bed of roses. And there are some issues that we need to address, some of which are that authorities are a bit slow in granting authorizations, maybe due to lack of resources as well, while banks make our lives extremely difficult. What's your take?
Well, I only have half of 3 minutes, so let me park the banking issue because I don't want to stir controversy. I think the issue is clear and there is a problem, and it needs to be tackled. I can assure you that even from the legislative point of view, we are looking at options. They are looking at options. Okay? Even the model France used could be amplified to help. There are applications which are being processed, and as we discussed several times in previous instances, myself and yourself, there are as well other entities who can provide services replicated worldwide. But that is a problem. Now, specifically on the authorization, there I beg a little bit to disagree. You specifically said that we started 3, 4, 5. Now we have a community. We are creating an ecosystem. We have an authority which is specifically focused on technology. We're starting something new. This is not atypical to cryptocurrencies. Even the MFSA, okay, is recreating itself. It's writing a new chapter. Why? It's working closely with a technology authority, something which is alien to any financial services authority, okay? And we're already seeing principles which we've installed, even licensing principles, in the VFA, being applied as well in the financial services, where that is pretty much harmonized. So I say, the chapter is there, we're writing it, it takes time. Creating an ecosystem takes time, and not only creating it, but maintaining it, because when you create it, you have value, and you have expectations, and there is where you need to keep those expectations. So even there, the MFSA is doing a fantastic job. Is it the perfect world? No. But I've never seen a bed of roses without thorns as well.
What's your take on this, Deborah?
Just to continue on what Ian has mentioned, I think the regulator is always juggling two sides to this, trying to be efficient, but at the same time processing due diligence in the most, let's say, rigorous manner. And while I see that, yes, the regulator has been more efficient, especially in this new sector, in this VFA sector, which is, yes, now also being adopted in the traditional financial services side, I do think that there is more work that can be done on the due diligence processing. As a private practitioner, we do feel that this is, it needs to happen. We need to make sure that essentially we're only attracting business that makes sense, reputable business, but at the same time, it needs to be a bit quicker. And I think a solution to that might also lie in this new sector, in the blockchain sector, that possibly the government and the regulator should also be considering. And possibly also look at a situation where due diligence is processed centrally, where our clients and people who are coming to Malta to open their business don't have to process it through multiple channels.
Non-duplication of controls would be the right methodology and the risk-based approach.
And the risk-based approach.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I had a couple of more questions, but we don't have time to tackle them. But I'm pretty sure that we can ask questions to our panelists here during the show. We will all be here at the show for the rest of this week, so hope to see you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.